listen to this statistic. There are over 500,000 working prostitutes in this country, and that's only the number we know about. It costs an average of $285 of your tax dollars to prosecute one woman, and it can cost up to $15,000 to keep her in an already overcrowded jail. The world of prostitution is obviously an easy way to make quick money, but it's a lonely life filled with physical violence, police threats, pimps, and discriminatory myths. Now, Marie Magoo became a prostitute at the tender age of 17. She was a successful madam at 23. And by 26, she was retired to start an organization called Scapegoat, which tries to help other prostitutes. Marie Magoo has a story to tell. She's very lucky to be alive to tell it.
Second Street, Las Vegas, the Block. Each place is different, yet to the working prostitute, it is somehow all the same. Sure, some strips are brighter, tricks more expensive, but there is violence everywhere. It's a tough way to make a buck.
I started right on 8th Avenue here in New York City as a streetwalker. And many women, if you don't have contacts, you go into an area that is saturated with prostitutes. And that's how I started.
Marie Magoo, who was born into a large Catholic Italian family, became a prostitute strictly for the money.
I made lots of money and I didn't invest it. I did save some, but you get caught up in a lifestyle that is very fast, very flashy, very temporary. You don't make friends that last a long time because they're either getting killed or put in jail. The thing is economics with me. I just wanted to have lots of nice things. And you'll find that most women who go into prostitution do it for the money.
Who were the men, not names of course, but who were the men who came to you?
The average trick, not just for me, but for everybody, is usually white, he's married, he comes from middle-class America, he usually has a white-collar job. You know, just the men you work with, the men who go to church on Sunday. These are the men who keep it in business.
Did the men ever tell you why they came to you?
Men go to prostitutes because men have always looked upon sex as being a God-given right. When they pay for it, that just secures that right even more. It's a convenience. It's power over women. It's sex without relationships, without someone calling up and saying, you can see a prostitute, and she's not going to call you up the next day and say, I need money for food, take my kid to the baseball game, or you're not paying any attention to me. A prostitute is really like a washing machine. I mean, she's really a convenience.
You became a madam when you were 23. Why did you decide to do that?
My trick book was enormous, okay? And there was no way I could have serviced those men by myself. So I called for the help of another working girl, and I became the madam. And before you know it, I had 2 girls working. We were working like 18 hours a day, 6 days a week. I did that for 3 years. It was really a whirlwind of unbelievable things happening.
What's the difference between a madam and a pimp?
Okay, first of all, you choose to work for a madam, all right? And the cut is usually 50-50, all right? And if there's any trouble in the room with the trick, the madam most likely will side with the girl, okay, because she doesn't want the girl physically abused. A pimp takes all the money, a pimp forces the girl to work, and the pimp doesn't care. He'll put a quota on her. Usually girls have to make $200 a night. Let me just give you a short story. I was told to make $200 a night by my pimp when I was 17 years old. And I came home with $199 and he broke my jaw.
Broke your jaw?
Broke my jaw because I was $1 short. The next day I left.
Marie's life as a prostitute and madam ended with the death of her father and the awakening responsibility of her need to be a mother to her son, who is now 11 years old.
I decided to change things for myself, to create a job for myself. But along that, I could also help other women who are trying to get out of prostitution. We need to support one another. We need to go to somebody who understands how difficult it is to get out of one lifestyle and into the mainstream of society. And that's what Scapegoat does. We provide that choice for a woman. If she wants to get out of prostitution, we will help her get out of prostitution. Now, for the woman who wants to stay in prostitution, well, that's fine, too. I don't think I have the right to moralize and tell her what she should do with her body. If she wants to do that, fine. If she's of age to make decisions, then fine. But still, she needs help.
How much of a change do you realistically think you can make through Scapegoat?
The women who do come into Scapegoat, for instance, the women here in New York City, they end up leaving their pimps. Now, that's success. Sure, there's still prostitution around. I am not Mary Magdalene. You know, I can't perform any miracles. As long as the men are out there believing that women are sex objects, as long as men are going to be out there providing that market, providing that demand, it's going to be out there, and I have no control over that whatsoever. You know, once you start making demands on yourself, you automatically make demands on others. And one thing that I find prostitutes don't do is make demands on themselves. Therefore, they're going to let anybody treat them any way that they want. But when they're done with Scapegoat, you know, they stand up and shout, I am somebody, and you can't treat me like this anymore because I'm special.
It's probably fair to say that prostitution will always exist, and people will always find it morally and legally objectionable. Marie Magoo is trying to change the public's perception of prostitution and to help the women themselves. To date, she's reached nearly 4,000 of them. Dave will be back in 1 minute with our evening department, so stay with us.
Come on, man. Come on in here. Let me have out there in the corner.
The night shift at the block reports for work, but instead of hard hats and steel-toed boots, they wear feather boas and spiked heels. Here, illusion is the name of the game, an attempt to package sexuality, lipstick, rouge, and an enticing smile. While outside the dressing room, the sounds of the night begin to swell.
I'm ready. I'm all for the races.
Showtime now. Walk in, take a look. Showtime now.
Hey, yes, sir. Hey, you go walk in, take a look.
Showtime.
Why don't you step inside here and see something good?
Let me back. We'll walk on in.
An assault takes place on the block every night. Nobody really minds, though, since this attack is a sensory bombardment of great tastes, inviting aromas, exciting sounds, and fascinating sights. Tonight, we're going to go backstage, on stage, and inside the block to show you what it is today. The pulse of the block is its showgirls. They attract crowds night after night, men looking for a dream, and the appeal is timeless and ageless. Dancers on the block are like snowflakes. No two are the same. Yet when the spinning stops, they land on their feet for the same reason: money.
What was it that actually made you decide to become a dancer down here?
What made me decide? When I first came to Baltimore, I had a job as a barmaid during the day, and they didn't have any dancers, but they had them at night. And I ended up getting a little high one night, and they talked me into getting up on stage. And I found out how lucrative it was to be on stage as opposed to being behind the bar.
Laurie Lee, a dancer at the Villanova Club who's worked on the block for 5 years, dislikes the image the block has in some circles.
The assumption that every girl that works down here is of a reputation.
How do you respond to criticism, to people you might meet who say something insulting about your job down here, maybe call you names because they think the block is nothing but a lot of loose morals and drinking and loose women? How do you deal with that?
I don't value anybody's opinion of myself but my own. Mine is the only one that matters.
Other women on the block were not concerned about their image. This police raid last year closed down all massage parlors on the block, and though prostitution remains in the area, police are there in visible numbers in an attempt to keep kids away and morals in place. Much of what we've seen so far has been the present formula for the block. Go-go girls going from makeup to nudity, backed by a blaring jukebox. But there's been a move toward a return to the golden age of the block. Her name is Lady Splendor, and she's a show all by herself.
From the Depression through disco, the 2 O'Clock Club has featured vaudeville, dance reviews, and exotic dancers.
Harry Van Valen came here from Las Vegas to work with a remodeled club and to bring top-line shows back to Baltimore.
What was burlesque then? And what is missing now? And what are you really trying to create here at the 2 O'Clock Club?
Essentially, burlesque then was self-contained acts with entertainment values. As Topless and Bottomless entered the scene, to gain crowd approval did not become significantly an entertainment aspect. It became simple nudity. We're attempting to reintroduce burlesque as it was known and appreciated throughout those years.
Among the surprises of early burlesque was guest appearances. They still show up occasionally to light up the stage. The 2 O'Clock Club isn't the only block night spot that's got a sense of history.
The Oasis Club is a famous name, and Pam Gale, who used to dance at the old Oasis Club, is now its owner, and Pam is a vibrant force in the future of today's block.
The night we were there, we found Pam teaching one of her dancers, China Doll, the subtle skills of exotic dancing.
I want to bring back the art of stripping, like they did years ago, like the Pat Amber Holiday, which was a beautiful girl on stage, Irma the Body. A lot of clubs have go-go girls. I'm not knocking that, but I just want to change. I want to go back into exotic dancing, and that's what the people want. Eye contact means a lot. When you're up there dancing and you're teasing, contact with a guy, eye contact, it's everything.
Years ago, Peggy Clark fascinated audiences when she danced with lizards and snakes. Her spirit of excitement and danger lives on today with Deanna Miranda.
Get back,
Deanna bought her first snake when she was 18 and a go-go dancer to put teeth into her act. Little did she know her act would put teeth into her.
I was bitten 2 weeks ago. I had to go to the hospital. He bit me in my main artery on my right arm. I've been strangled a couple times. It took the 2 O'Clock Club I was working then. It took 2 owners and a bartender to get them off of me. It was 2 of them.
The Block. It's people and places, and assault on the senses. Well, our visit's over, but we'll be back among the crowds that have been coming here for 50 years. Some come for a drink and to watch the dancing girls. Others, well, maybe they come for what James Caan said in his movie The Gambler, strange smells and the possibility of blood. But whether you think you're peeking into Desolation Row or looking at a little piece of paradise, the Block will remain. Perhaps Gary Sirota of the Midway Bar says it best.
I love meeting the personalities and the characters. It's almost like Damon Runyon characters when he used to write about the crazy people years ago. They'd have these movies. Well, it's the same thing that he had is right here.
We'll be back in a minute.
The Block. Is it a symbol of days gone by? Or is it a viable part of what Baltimore has to offer for entertainment?
Any day now, 5 stores at the south end of the block are about to be demolished. Before we ask the question, what does the future hold for the block, let's find out a little more about what makes the block tick.
Bob Litwin and Chip Silverman produced a 2-part story on the block for us in 1981, and they wrote the history of the block for Baltimore Magazine. Bob is known as the block's official historian.
The block is Baltimore's playground for big kids, to have a few beers after the game, or get something to eat. Maybe watch a pretty girl dance, or buy her a drink. The block didn't invent itself, it didn't have to. But what it does real good.
That's when we do the shot. We're almost ready. Looks great. John, looks great.
Inside the club, Che Joey, Steve Yeager, a Baltimore filmmaker, is making a feature film. It's called On the Block and stars Marilyn Jones, who you may have seen in Saint Elsewhere and a lot of other TV series.
This is a lot of things I've never done before, so that's always attractive and it's scary, and that kind of a feeling is good.
It's a behind-the-scenes look at an adult entertainment zone through the eyes of a nightclub dancer.
I'd never been in any clubs like this, so everything, literally everything I saw was new. This isn't a life I know. These aren't people, the kinds of people that I know, so everything was new.
Linda Chambers wrote on the block along with Steve.
I love the block. I really do, and I've only been coming down here for about 3 months. There's a family atmosphere down here.
Interesting. Family is the last thing you think of when you think of the block. Okay, let's meet some of the members of the family. This is Kay Martin. She's the MC tonight at the circus at the south end of the block.
Yes, sir-ree.
Kay started a while back. We won't say how long, but this is the way she looked when she was known as Topaz. Her little friend was called Chi-Chi, and his job was, well, it was to remove her clothes.
I mean, the block is just wonderful. I'm just crazy about it. I made my money down here, and I'm going to work down here as long as I can. Now, ladies and gentlemen, that lovely young lady that got done dancing is most beautiful Galaxy.
If it wasn't for the block, my kids probably be on the street or in jail. It was raised right. I was very strict with them, even though they knew what I was doing.
This is Kay's husband, Larry Saunders. He's an agent, an old-time burlesque agent, and at 80 years old, he's still booking strippers. Larry started out doing death-defying circus acts in vaudeville in the 20s. He's auditioning Jenny Lynn at the Club Playgirls, a block-style club on Howard Street.
Well, I look the personality, for one thing. There's some girls are natural dancers. You don't have to teach them how to dance, or they don't have to learn how to dance. They can automatically pick up dancing. You did very nice. I was watching your entire routine, and I think with a little polishing up, I could make a feature dancer out of you.
Larry's worried that the city is planning to get rid of the block completely. If that happens, dancers like Virginia Lee, who's been on the block for 20 years, will be out of work. When Virginia started dancing, she was 17 years old, and the block was a different place.
There was bands in every club. There was burlesque in every club. There was an MC in every club. And it was exciting. Sometimes I feel like a psychiatrist. You know, they give you your problems, and you sit and listen. And a lot of times, that's what they want, just to listen. Somebody to listen and to agree with them. And I try to make them leave a little happy. But I hate to see the block go. I really do.
Now, don't get us wrong. We're not condoning or promoting what goes on in the 300 and 400 blocks of East Baltimore Street. But there it is, a part of Baltimore, like it or not. The future of the block? If anybody knows, they're not talking. But the people we've met in the last few minutes have some strong opinions.
If they tear the whole thing down, that in several years, they're going to regret it.
When Chip Silverman and I wrote the history of the block, we thought it would be here forever. Recently, the city took a chunk out of the block, a pretty big bite, and the next 5 or 6 years are going to be critical to see whether or not the block really will be a permanent part of the history of Baltimore.
It's a shame to eliminate the block. Mr. Schaefer, please don't eliminate the block.
Keep the block open, because we love it. And a lot of girls will be without a job. None of us will have nothing to do. I don't know what I'll do, because I love it down here.